It is my pleasure to acknowledge the employees of the month for March 2025. The employees of the month for I'm sorry, April. Uh, I apologize. March 2025. The employees of the month for April 2025 are the Fair Williams, Fulton Hawthorne, and Jennifer Robles. Bus operator Zafir Williams, who is assigned to LBT2, has worked for LBT for 6 months. I'm sorry, these are the employees of the month for uh, April 2025. I said March before. I apologize. This is the first Employee of the Month nomination. Operator Williams consistently demonstrates dedication to his role and contributes to his team. He arrives to work every day and on time, and this recognition is a tribute to his hard work. His reliability and dedication to LBT make him a valuable part of the team. Custodian Sultan Hawthorne assists with assignments at both LBT 1 and LBT 2 and has been with LBT for 8 years. This is his third Employee of the Month nomination. Sultan is always eager to help, delivering quality work with every task. On top of his regular duties, Sultan also acts as an in-house painting crew, helping with any painting needs for LBT facilities. Sultan's great attitude, teamwork, and dependability make him a great asset to LBT. Jennifer Robles, Administrative Assistant for Customer Relations and Communication and Government Relations, has been with LBT for 2 years, and this is her first Employee of the Month nomination. Jennifer first joined LBT as a customer care agent and was promoted to her current position in December 2023. She has helped to streamline communication internally and externally, improve budget tracking tools, and created a department calendar to track projects and programs. She regularly volunteers outside of normal working hours and assists with the Employee Engagement Committee. Jennifer's positive attitude and proactive approach to her tasks make her an invaluable part of the agency. It is my pleasure to now present those valuable members of the Long Beach Transit team via video.
My name is Zafir Williams, and I'm a bus operator, and I've been here for going on a year. My favorite part about working at LBT is serving the community that I grew up in and having the flexibility of being able to be all around the city. I feel like it's an honor to be Employee of the Month, and it just feels good to be recognized for all the hard work that you do day in and day out serving the community.
My name is Sultan Hawthorne. I've been working for Long Beach Transit for 8 years. I'm a custodian at Long Beach Transit 2. My favorite part of working Long Beach Transit is meeting new people, taking on different challenges, and making sure that my work is well presented to my peers. It was a surprising thing that my boss had presented it to me, and I was blessed to receive the Employee of the Month.
Jennifer Robles. I'm the administrative assistant to the executive director and VP of customer relations and communications, as well as the manager of government relations. I've been with LBT for 2 years. My favorite part of working for LBT is the staff. I do enjoy working with the CRC team as well as the other departments. I love the positive energy that everyone has, as well as the positive environment that I work in. It's an honor to be the Employee of the Month and being recognized by the managers and the executive directors.
Thank you to all of our Employees of the Month for being dedicated to connecting communities, moving people, making everyday life better.
Great, thank you. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, any discussion from the board? All right, well, thank you so
Madam
much.
Chair, if
Yes.
I might, this is my favorite part of this meeting. I don't know about y'all, but this is my favorite part of the meeting because you get a chance to see the people who make Long Beach Transit work every single day you're out there. not only facing the public, but facing one another. You know, it's not often talked about, but internal dynamics are, you know, very important to an organization running well. And that we have good leadership. If the troops aren't getting along and don't like each other, that's going to make the mission even harder. And so, you know, again, this is my favorite part of the meeting. I love seeing the folks who are working hard for us, and I just want to congratulate the employees of the month for being recognized for work they do every month.
Great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. All right, moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? At this time, I invite members of the public who want to address the board on any matters that does not appear on the agenda that's within the board's jurisdiction. All right, seeing none, we will now go to Ken McDonald, who will present the CEO and President's report.
Good afternoon, Chairman here, members of the board, and all who assembled here today. I am Kenneth McDonald, President and CEO at Long Beach Transit. My monthly agency report will highlight some of our accomplishments and ongoing activities centered around the strategic priorities of the organization. LBT's strategic priorities are improve safety and service quality, exercise financial accountability, foster employee engagement, enhance the customer experience, and promote community and industry focus. Earlier this month, I joined Mayor Rex Richardson and a cohort for a social housing field study in Vienna. Board member Christopher Kuhn was also a member of the housing field study. The field study was organized by the Global Policy Leadership Academy and was designed to give participants an understanding of Vienna's social housing models. Topics include urban planning, construction, financing, land management, and community engagement. While the trip focused on affordable social housing, there was a strong connection to transportation, public transportation, and the sustainability element of housing. The event had over 235 delegates that has participated in 6 contingents over the years. Our contingents consisted of 35 participants. I will ask Chris if you'd like to add any comments about the trip at this point, if you'd love.
I just really appreciated being there with yourself, Ken, and the mayor. I think what we saw in Austria was just a society that's really dedicated to moving people around and treating them with dignity and housing them. And those are great social goals, but it's paying off for them. People that can get to their work and to their home and can afford their housing have more money to spend at local restaurants and local shops. And that's worked out very well for the city of Vienna. And we also learned that it's not perfect. They have many challenges there, but they've made the choice to overcome those challenges. They have books to balance and financial challenges. They have NIMBYs, or very citizens with a lot of opinions. They have long bureaucratic processes. They have labor negotiations to navigate. But I was just very impressed at how they have been able to navigate all of that to the benefit of the residents that they serve. And I learned a lot, and I look forward to implementing some of those lessons learned both here and at the city.
And as we close on this topic, our mayor has expressed that he would like to use one of a project that is being looked at in North Long Beach as a model to try to implement this in the city of Long Beach. So hopefully we will be able to get together and start working on something like that. Earlier this month, Lee Berner, Executive Director and VP of Transit Service Delivery, and Dino Smith, Manager of Training, attended the APTA Mobility Conference in Austin, Texas. The Mobility Conference addresses the critical priorities and challenges facing bus and paratransit systems across the country and explored the changing environment in which these systems operate in today's mobility landscape. The conference also featured the International Bus Rodeo, a competition showcasing driving skills and maintenance discipline of transit employees. As reported last month, LBT operator Gabriel Becerra Orozco competed in the event. Operator Becerra Orozco has been with LBT for 5 years, and this was his first time competing in the rodeo. And he will get the opportunity to try to be a 1, 2, or 3 in the future. He didn't make it in the top 3, but he's working his way for the next time. There were 75 bus operators, 52 maintenance teams, and 43 combined teams that competed in various driving, safety, and repair competitions. In the agency ongoing effort to foster employee engagement and promote employee health and wellness, LBT has completed upgrades to the fitness center at LBT 1 and LBT 2. And if you look before us, you can see that the some pictures of the fitness center. On the left, you can see the pictures before, and on the right, you can see the pictures before after. So you can see we've developed a very upgraded fitness center for our employees. These facilities have been closed since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and have now reopened with significant improvements. Notably, in response to employees' feedback, the upgraded fitness center now includes strength training equipment, addressing a previous gap as the spaces were previously equipped only with cardio machines. Renovation included new flooring, fresh paint, upgraded mirrors, television, and all new fitness equipment. The project was a cross-departmental collaboration between facilities, transit service delivery, IT, and the finance department. And I want to thank all departments that helped us to implement this. Now we can see much healthier employees going forward. On April 8th, 2025, Fabiola Robles, manager of talent acquisition, and her team participated in the CSU Long Beach College of Liberal Arts employer panel and networking event. The internship event was a meaningful opportunity for students to engage directly with industry professionals and gain real-world insight into securing internship within the College of Liberal Arts. The panel shares valuable advice on how students can stand out in a competitive job market. It covered topics such as resume development, interview preparation, and what employers are really looking for from intern candidates. After the panel, students participated in a networking session where they asked thoughtful questions and began building connections that will support their future career goals. On April 8th, 2025, LBT Procurement Department participated in the CMAA Southern California Chapter Owners Night to connect with local construction and management professionals. The event offered a meaningful opportunity to strengthen industry relationships and attract new interest to our capital projects. Direct engagement with the industry professional helps cultivate a more competitive and inclusive vendor pool, which also provides valuable insight on how we can contribute to improve access and engagement. LBT procurement team, led by Joanna Bull, highlighted upcoming contract opportunities and shared information about our procurement process. As a follow-up to last month's update on FY 2026 budget public outreach effort, the customer priority survey closed on April 9th, and a total of 168 responses submitted in both English and Spanish. The next step in our outreach include the release of an informational presentation, which will be published on LBT's website next week and promoted via social media. The presentation will outline how LBT receives and allocates funding, demonstrate how customer input has shaped proposed project for the upcoming fiscal year, It will encourage continued public involvement and public attendance and feedback at the May 15 Board of Directors meeting where the FY 2026 budget will be presented. We are expecting that comments from the public would end on May 9th, so we could include that in the presentation that would occur on the 5th. In the agency effort to promote community and industry focus, staff has participated in various community events this month. To highlight a couple, on April 6th, LBT participated in the 17th Annual Cambodia Town Parade, celebrating the vibrant culture and diversity of the Cambodians in the Long Beach community. The team decorated a battery electric bus and handed out custom LBT flags along with the parade route. Thank you to all of the LBT staff who volunteered for showing up and showed up in support of this event. The community relation team visited the Lutheran Tower Senior Apartment to present on LBT senior and special services. Following the presentation, the team assisted interested residents with signing up for senior tap cards and answering additional questions. On April 11th to the 13th, LBT participated in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, the city's largest annual event. This was the 50th anniversary of the Grand Prix. Not there's Acura. Acura has lately been a sponsor. The community relations team hosted a booth at the Lifestyle Expo, featuring the fan favorite transit on track remote control bus races as pictured on this slide, and sharing information about LBT service. In addition, the team staffed booths at the Alamedos Bay Dock and the Aquarium Dock for assisting customers and visitors with questions about Aqualink and Aquabus services that was running throughout the Grand Prix weekend. This concludes my CEO update for the month. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ken. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the board? Oh, yes.
I just want to say thank you to the team. I was out there at the Grand Prix and visited with the team with my nephew, and he loved the track, the race, and loved the little fold up buses, and saw a few other kids out there that had them. So just great job to everybody that was involved. Really, really appreciate it.
Great, any other? I have a question. You mentioned about the survey, that there was more than 100 surveys?
10 or 5,000.
And we're gonna know those responses during the budget, or when would that happen?
Making sure we have time to address what was asked and report what came from the public.
Got it. Well, I think that's really great, that we got a lot of, I feel like that's a success, and really excited to see what comes out of it.
As a chief, two of the things we saw right away, they were asking for more service and later service. I think this has been the standard practice, but that's sort of what we saw in the initial, that people are asking that Long Beach have longer hours and more service. And we'll talk about the budget, what we have in there to deal with that.
Great, thank you. All right. Now we're gonna move on to the consent calendar. All matters included on the consent calendar are considered routine by LBT Board of Directors and will enhance by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the Board of Directors or public request, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent calendar and considered as a separate item. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Board Secretary now call roll.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sutton, Secretary Treasurer Yorve,
Aye.
Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp.
Aye.
Director Rawlings,
I'll abstain since I was not.
Director Sutton has been excused.
Great. The motion carries. The consent calendar is now approved. Moving on to agenda item 7, monthly financial report presented by Lisa Patton.
Good afternoon, Chair Mahia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and everyone assembled here today. My name is Lisa Patton, and I'm the Executive Director and Vice President of Finance and Budget. And I am before you today to present the financial report for the period of July 1, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. The focus of my report will be on comparing actual revenues to actual expenses and compared to the budget. We'll also highlight some of the strategic decisions that the CEO and I have made in light of the uncertainty of federal funding. The Statement of Revenue and Expenses report gives us a broad view of how much LBT has earned and spent during the fiscal year. At the top of the report is the operating revenue that LBT directly generates. Year to date, we can see that all categories are trending favorably above budget with the exception of advertising revenue, who has a new contract. In the middle of the page is subsidy revenue. As you know, there's been a lot of uncertainty at the federal level this year. As good stewards of public funds, the CEO and I made the strategic decision to accelerate LBT's use of federal funds to mitigate any potential impacts. Strategically, we chose to draw the funding this fiscal year to offset current operational costs. This is not an increase in spending or an increase in revenue, it's a timing decision. This decision helps to ensure stability, protect against uncertainty, and preserve funding options for future periods. Highlighted here, you will see the results of this decision. Federal subsidy revenue now stands at 143% of the year-to-date budget. This strengthens LBT's financial position and protects against future funding gaps. Looking at the summary of operating expenses, transit operations are stable. The budget is well aligned with actual service delivery, thanks to improved staffing levels and careful overtime control. Maintenance costs are trending slightly over as a result of inflation and increased overtime. New mechanics are in training, and our maintenance team is actively managing costs. Across all departments, we're seeing controlled spending and strong alignment with LBT's budget. The schedule of expenses breaks down spending into detailed categories. The top section evaluates operational cost controls and workforce stability, two critical components of service reliability. Operator wages remain stable and well managed by our transit service delivery team. Fleet maintenance labor costs are running above budget and are being addressed with new mechanics and training. Under services, we see an increase in contract maintenance expenses, included repairs to the fuel island, to the maintenance roll-up doors, and installation of seismic shutoff valves at LBT2. Employment physicals are running above budget, which is a reflection of LBT's increased hiring and long-term labor strategy. This page shows how LBT is responding to external pressures, such as cost inflation and supply chain volatility. Fuel expenses are under budget thanks to proactive procurement and favorable pricing. Inflation in parts and materials is being mitigated by locking in prices, strategically managing inventories, and controlling high-cost components. This ensures continuity in fleet performance without budget disruption. Under miscellaneous expenses, you will see an increase in safety and miscellaneous items. This includes defibrillators leased at LBT1 and LBT2. Overall, total operating expenses for the month are tracking closely with budget. This reflects disciplined cost management across all departments while continuing to invest in frontline operations, staffing, and essential infrastructure. The balance sheet gives us a point-in-time snapshot of LBT's financial position. It speaks to LBT's financial stability, funding management, and capital stability. Under assets, LBT continues to maintain solid cash reserves, which are key to sustaining operations. Receivables at the federal level increased, while state, county, and local receivables declined during the month. This slide reflects LBT's long-term stability through strategic capital investment and proactive liability management. Q3 capital investments of $953,000 was aimed at electrification, facility modernization, and system readiness. Pension obligations are improving thanks to strong returns and sound management, reducing the long-term risk. Payroll liabilities rose due to the timing of healthcare invoices and accrual cycles. This was expected and is a manageable shift. Overall, Long Beach Transit concludes the Q3 of fiscal year 2025 in a position of fiscal strength and operational momentum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the board? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, now we're going to item number 8. Terry Kuhn will present item number 8.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, Mr. McDonald, members of the board, and all those who are assembled today. My name is Terry Kuhn. I'm the manager of finance and budget in the finance and budget department. I'm before you today to request the board to authorize the president and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options with Wines Incorporated to perform single audit and financial audit services. For background purposes, Long Beach Transit is required to undergo an annual financial audit and single audit under federal, state, and local funding agreements to ensure accountability and transparency. These audits adhere to the guidelines set forth by the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans, and the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or Metro, as the regional transportation planning agency. And these audits are essential to maintaining the agency's eligibility for continued funding. An annual financial audit is a yearly independent review of LBT's financial records to ensure accuracy, transparency, and compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. Results of the financial audit are compiled in the agency's annual comprehensive financial report, otherwise known as the ACFR. The ACFR also includes a section called the Management's Discussion and Analysis that provides context on the audited year, as well as a statistical section offering historical data and trends related to LBT. The ACFR's companion document, the single audit, is a mandated audit and report for any agency that expends $750,000 or more in federal funds annually. The single audit is an agency-wide detailed review of LBT's federal expenditures, and its objective is to assess LBT's internal controls over compliance with major federal programs, and also to determine whether the agency adheres to relevant laws, regulations, and grant requirements in accordance with the United States Office of Management and Budget Circular A-133. Both the ACFR and the single audit are brought to the board each January as an information item. To ensure objectivity and impartiality in conducting these audits, Long Beach Transit sought the services of an external and independent accounting firm. In preparation for the expiration of the current audit services contract, LBT issued a request for proposal to qualified firms and received 6 proposals in return. These proposals were evaluated for technical experience and qualifications, project understanding and approach, team organization and capacity, finally, pricing. Following a thorough evaluation process, Wines Incorporated, located here in Long Beach, California, received the highest score and demonstrated the best overall value for required audit services. Therefore, staff is requesting the board of directors to authorize the president and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with Wines Incorporated to perform financial audit and single audit services at a cost of $350,000 with 2 one-year options at $125,000 for option year 1 and $130,000 for option year 2, with a 5% contingency in the amount of $30,250 for a total authorization amount not to exceed $632,250. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Great, thank you. Do we hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any public comment? Any board discussion?
Chair, Terry, I just have one quick question, and thank you for the report. The criteria listed here under the procurement section, were these 4 criteria weighted in any way? Like, was pricing giving a greater weight than technical experience? Or was it that all 4 criteria were met? Because sometimes we evaluate things if the pricing is better, but we kind of don't go for the technical, or we rate the technical higher and local higher than the pricing. So there's no numbers. There's no estimated costs or actual numbers here. Do you know how they were weighted?
I do know that they were weighted. How they were weighted escapes me right now, but I can get back to you on that.
Thank you.
And normally be about 20 to 30% on the price. 70% goes to the other technical.
Okay, okay.
Price is normally between 20.
Okay. That's what I wanted. That's fine. Thank you.
Any other board discussion? All right. Seeing none, call roll call.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun, Secretary Treasurer Yorve,
Aye.
Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Camp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Sun has been excused.
Great. The motion carries the recommendation to authorize President and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with Wines Inc. to perform financial audit, single audit services at a cost of $350,000 within one year option and $125,000 for option year 1 and $130,000 for year 2 within a 5-year contingency in the amount of $30,250 for a total authorized amount not to exceed $632,250 is approved. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to agenda item number 9. Pretty George will present agenda item number 9.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and all who are assembled here. My name is Pretty George, and I serve as the Executive Director, Vice President of Information Technology at Long Beach Transit. Today, I'm requesting your approval to enter into a contract with Generation 9 Technologies to provide 24/7 help desk services. As LBT undergoes a major digital transformation with our new ERP and EM systems and other strategic initiatives, this contract will play a critical role in supporting LBT's modernization and ensuring system stability during a very transformative period. This contract ensures 24/7 Tier 1 help desk support, which includes routine troubleshooting, password resets, basic software assistance, and initial diagnosis. The response time to tickets sent via chat and phone will be within 15 minutes, and non-urgent emails within 24 hours. We have implemented a role-based access control to ensure the vendors is granted only the permissions necessary to perform Tier 1 support functions, while higher level incidents and access to sensitive systems remain under the direct management of LBT's internal IT team. This structure allows LBT's internal IT team to focus on strategic initiatives critical to the success of the agency to support high priority projects that support organizational growth, digital transformation, and long-term operational efficiency. LBT issued an RFP and received 7 qualified proposals. Generation 9 scored 87 out of the 100 based on experience, technical solutions, and pricing. Generation 9 based in Culver City and is a certified small business enterprise and will perform 100% of the work exceeding LBT's 12% SBE goal. Therefore, staff is requesting LBT's Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with Generation 9 Technologies for the deployment of a 24/7 help desk service at a cost of $769,183 with 2 one-year options. Option year 1 at $271,930. Option year 2, $280,087 with a 10% contingency of $132,120 for a total authorization amount not to exceed $1,453,320. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second? Right. Are there any public comments? Seeing none? All right, any discussion from the board?
May, Chair.
Yes.
I'll keep mine very short. For one, thank you very much. Great, quick presentation. 2, in my line of work, I see a lot of teams jumping to, believe it or not use humans for this type of support. And I'm glad that we're not doing that. We're not quite there yet. So it's great to support our teammates in this way. And the second thing is, it's greatest to see not just meeting, but surpassing our SBE goals here. I don't want to speak for any of the directors, but I would imagine there are some questions a lot of times, especially when it comes to technology, it can be more difficult to meet that criteria just because of the nature of the work. So it's great to see us exceed that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, thank you, Pretty. I also just real quick, very nice on the DBE, SBE number. It certainly aligns with LBT's goals of equity and inclusion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? All right, seeing none, call for a vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun, Secretary Treasurer Nyorbe, Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Sutton has been excused.
Awesome, thank you. The motion carries. The recommendation to authorize President CEO to enter into 3-year contract with Generation 9 Technologies for the deployment of a 24/7 help desk at a cost of $769,183 with 2 one-year options at $271,930 option with a for option year 1, $280,087 for option for a total of $1,321,200 with a 10-year contingency of $132,120 for the total authorization not to exceed $1,433,320 is approved. Moving on to agenda item 10, Victoria Cordero will present that item.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and all others assembled here today. My name is Victoria Cordero Reyes, and I am the Manager of Risk for Long Beach Transit. I am before you today to request the Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to enter into a 3-year fixed rate contract with 2 one-year options with Carl Warren and Company for the provision of management services for public liability, property damage claims, and subrogation services. As a background, Long Beach Transit operates under a self-insurance model, meaning the agency assumes financial responsibility for a certain amount of risk known as our retention, rather than paying higher premiums to an external insurance providers for all of our exposure. To manage the volume and the complexity of our claims, such as personal injury or property damage resulting from transit operations, LBT relies on a third-party administrator to handle this process. LBT current provider is Carl Warren and Company. Long Beach Transit is self-insured for up to $3 million per incident. Carl Warren and Company supports the agency by processing claims, working with our insurance carriers for third parties, assisting in legal defense, managing settlements, and recovering funds from at-fault parties through subrogation. Long Beach Transit issued a request for proposal to firms nationwide and received 2 qualified proposals. These proposals were evaluated based on the following criteria: qualifications of the firm, staffing and project organization, technical solutions and work plan, and price. Carl Warren and Company, with offices in Anaheim, California, received the highest score from the evaluation committee with 94 points and was determined by LBT's purchasing department to offer a fair and reasonable proposal. A small business enterprise goal of 4% was established for this solicitation. Carl Warren and Company will utilize an SBA certified firm. Their name is Sam Hooper and Associates, and they will be used for all on-call investigations. Their responsibilities will include reporting to incident scenes, canvassing for witnesses and surveillance footage, contacting claimants and witnesses, conducting interviews, and capturing scene photos and measurements. Therefore, I am requesting the board to authorize the president and CEO to enter into a 3-year fixed rate contract with Carl Warren and Company for the provision of management services for public liability, property damage claims, and subrogation services at a cost of $321,342 with 2 one-year options at $111,154 for option year 1 and at $113,099 for option year 2, for a total authorization amount not to exceed $545,595. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. I'm ready for any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Seeing none? Discussion. Is there any discussion? Yes, Director Angela?
I just wanted to, just for my own edification, what you said you were self-insured to a certain number? What's that number and before the insurance kicks in?
That number is $3 million. So the first or retention for the first $3 million for each incident is funded by Long Beach Transit through their self-insurance.
And is that set aside, Lisa? Do we have money for that that's set aside as before we get to that point in terms of financing? Thank you.
Is there any additional? Yes, Director?
Or, 2 statements. Thank you for the report, and good job on the SBE goals. Again, it continues to show our commitment to equality and supporting diversity. Also, I like the part where if no funds are recovered, no payment is due, no fees due for unsuccessful claims. That's a good thing. Certainly protects LBT. I do have a couple, maybe one question. In your staff recommendation, I don't see a line on contingency. Most of the proposals that we review, there's usually 5%, 10% contingency. I don't see a contingency for any risks on this one. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, Carl Warren have their prices fixed, so I assume contingencies are when maybe if they need additional personnel or something, it might increase a bit. But they already sent us like the 3 years plus the 2 year options that will not change.
Okay, thank you. And I do have a second question. This is a new engagement, correct, with Carl Warren?
No, they are our current provider.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah.
So there won't be any issues with providing data and how things are done with them?
No, absolutely not. They have been with
Okay.
us a long time and
Okay.
there's no need to any transition.
Thank you.
Right, any more discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote.
Chair Mejia, Vice Chair Sun, Secretary Treasurer Yorbe, Director Angeles, Director Kemp, Director Rawlings. Director Sun has been excused.
Great, thank you. The motion passed, the motion carries a recommendation to authorize President CEO to enter into a 3-year fixed rate contract with Carl Warren and Company for the provisions of management services for public liability and property damage claims, subordination services costs of $321,342 with 2 1-year options at $111,154. For option year one, $113,099. For option year two, for a total authorization amount not to exceed $542,595 is approved. Moving on to agenda item 11, Elizabeth Brown will present that item.
I'm sorry, Ms. Brown, your microphone's not on.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and all who are assembled here today. I'm Elizabeth Brown, Executive Director and Vice President of Organizational Development and Administration. I am before you today to recommend that the board adopt the 2025 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, known as the PTAS, with newly set safety targets as required by the Federal Transit Administration, commonly known as the FTA, under the Urbanized Area Formula Grant. As background, as an operator of public transportation that receives funding under FTA's Urbanized Area Formula Grants, LBT is required to maintain an agency safety plan. This plan includes the processes and procedures to implement the safety management system as authorized by the Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century Act, also known as MAP. LBT is required to review the PTAS plan and update safety targets yearly in accordance with 49 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 673, also known in abbreviated form as Part 673. The board most recently approved the adoption of the 2024 LBT PTAS last year to comply with the final rules set by the FTA. On April 11, 2024, Part 673 was amended. This led to an overhaul of the PTAS to comply with the new requirement. What you see here highlights the revisions made to LBT's 2025 PTAS. Revisions to the 2025 PTAS include the addition of the Risk Reduction Program, which introduces 8 new safety performance target categories, as well as updates to roles and responsibilities within the organization and the safety committee, as listed in the Appendix A in the PTAS report provided in your packet. Safety performance targets, also known as SPTs, were updated for 2025 by calculating the 3-year rolling average of data from years 2022, 2023, and 2024, as reported to the National Transit Database, also known as NTD, as required by Part 673. SPTs ensure the PTAS objectives and goals are being met and safety outcomes are continually improved. LBT reports on 2 modes of transit, fixed route bus and paratransit. LBT is required by Part 673 to measure both modes of transit. Fixed bus rates are calculated based on 100,000 vehicle revenue miles, and paratransit rates are calculated based on 10,000 vehicle revenue miles. Vehicle revenue miles, known as VRM, are defined as the miles the vehicles travel while in revenue service. The safety performance targets are found on pages 16 through 18 in the PTAS report provided in your packet. These measures are directly aligned with LBT's strategic priority, improve safety and service quality. The SPTs consist of a total of 15 measures. The following 5 safety performance measures have remained unchanged since the 2024 PTAS revision. Total number of fatalities, total number of fatalities per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, total number of injuries, total number of injuries per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, and system reliability. An injury is defined as any harm to persons as a result of an event that requires immediate medical attention away from the scene. System reliability is defined as the mean distance between major mechanical failures by mode of transportation. 8 performance measures have been added in the 2025 PTAS to comply with Part 673 amendment and guidance document. 4 are listed here. The additions include total number of collisions per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, total number of pedestrian collisions per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, vehicular collision rate per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, and total number of collisions. Collision means an impact between a bus and an object or pedestrian that meets the major events threshold. Major events will be further explained in this presentation. The latter 4 of the 8 added measures are total transit worker fatalities per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, total transit worker injuries per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM, total number of assaults on transit workers, and total number of assaults on transit workers per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM. 2 performance measures have been modified to reflect Part 673 amendments and guidance document language. Total number of safety events amended to total number of major events. Total number of safety events per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM amended to total number of major events per 100,000 and 10,000 VRM. Major safety or security events are classified as reportable events. A major event is defined as any safety or security incident that occurs under one of the following circumstances: at a transit revenue facility, at a transit maintenance facility, during a transit-related maintenance activity or involving a transit revenue vehicle, and results in one or more of the following outcomes: a fatality confirmed within 30 days of the event, an injury requiring immediate medical attention away from the scene, property damage totaling 25,000 or more, a collision involving a transit revenue vehicle that requires towing from the scene, and evacuation for life safety reasons. As previously noted, LBT reports on two modes of transit: fixed route bus and paratransit. Displayed here are the SBTs for the fixed route bus, which can be found on page 16 and 17 of the PTAS report. Asterisk symbols are used in the table to communicate that the category was not required to be reported to NTD prior to the 2024 amendment. Thus, the data is unavailable. These figures are calculated using a formula that takes the total number of events multiplied by 100,000 VRM and then divides that number by LBT's annual VRM. As an example, the injury rate calculation for 2024 is 17 occurrences multiplied by 100,000 VRM divided by 7,307,545 annual VRM, which gives us an incident rate of 0.23. Displayed here are the safety performance targets for paratransit, which can be found on page 17 and 18 of the PTAS report. The rates are calculated as previously explained using a formula that takes the total number of events multiplied by 10,000 VRMs and then divides that number by LBT's annual VRM. As an example, the major event rate calculation for 2024 is one occurrence multiplied by 10,000 VRM divided by 147,381 annual VRMs, which gives us an incident rate of 0.07. This brings us to the conclusion of our 2025 PTAS update. Staff is recommending that the Board of Directors adopt Long Beach Transit's 2025 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan to comply with the FTA final rule in accordance with 49 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 673. This ends my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation? Director Rawlings, is there a second?
Second.
Public comment? Discussion from the board? Yes, Director Kemp?
Yeah, speaking of safety, I apologize if any smoke alarms went off, but as you were doing all that math talk, gave me brain cramp. But no, appreciate the thorough report and thank you for keeping us safe.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board? All right, seeing that,
I just have one, just out of curiosity, with the change of administration, do you anticipate any changes in these reporting methodology from the FTA? Right, right.
Have a different perspective. So I would be very surprised if by 2027, we don't have some different reporting requirements. And the way this came about, there's a lot of background with the PTAS that came from labor. I don't know how they look at this. I have no clue, but I just know they look at it different.
great, thank you. Call for a vote.
Chair Mejia. Aye. Vice Chair Sutton. Secretary Treasurer Yarve. Director Angeles. Director Kemp.
Aye.
Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Sutton has been excused. Great, thank you. The motion carries the recommendation to adopt the Long Beach Transit 2025 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan to comply with the FTA final rule in accordance with Code 49 Federal Regulations, Part 673 is approved. Moving on to agenda item 12, presented by Vince Reed.
Thank you, Chair Mejia, honorable members of the board, Mr. McDonald. I'm Vince Ewing, the General Counsel for Long Beach Transit. Welcome and good afternoon to all who are assembled here today. I'm here to present board agenda item number 12. Board agenda item number 12 discusses the Brown Act, and it arises from a conversation that the board had and a request for a report on taking action on agenda items that are listed as information only. After researching this issue, I present to you this board option. So pursuant to the Brown Act, if the agenda lists the agenda item as information and action, as long as the item is listed and the agenda says that the board reserves the right to take action on any item listed on the agenda, whether information or action, then the board can take action on information items. Pursuant to this development or the potential revised agenda, I'd recommend that the board directors state as a policy statement on future agendas that the board of directors reserves the right under the California Brown Act to act on any item listed on this agenda as either information or action. Further to this conversation, question was asked about, what other agencies in California do this. There are several. I've listed a few. One is the City of Los Angeles Planning Commission. If you look at their agendas, it has a statement that says just that. If you look at the Access Services agenda, that agenda also says that the board can take action on items that are listed as information or action. And lastly, the California State Athletic Commission, even though that's a state agency and it's governed by the Bagley-Keene Act, that's a counterpart to the Brown Act. Essentially, it says the same thing, but for state agencies. And it says that the board reserves the right to, or the commission reserves the right to take action on items listed on the agenda as information for action on. So that concludes my report. The recommendation is, if the board wishes to go forward with this option, to adopt a policy statement and set forth the statement as stated on future agendas. I am here for questions.
We'll go through the process. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
Is the recommendation to draft a separate motion apart from your recommendation and come back and vote on that? Or can we simply vote to adopt the language that you've recommended and make that our action going forward?
It would be the latter.
Thank you. So moved.
Moved. All right, is there any public comment? Seeing none? Board discussion. Any additional board discussion?
I just wanted a point of clarification as it relates to the language, General Counsel. When you say action, as it relates to that, there are times obviously where we take on matters that are listed. But if we take an action over and above whatever that's listed on the agenda, how do we, sort of approach that? Number one. And then number two, just want to be point of clarification on two items where we always have public comment on items that doesn't necessarily construe us having to act upon any request from the public as it relates to things that come up in public comment.
Sure. So thank you for the question. So with respect to items that are listed on the agenda as either information or action items, the board can take action on those items. What the Brown Act says regarding other items, there are 5 exceptions in the Brown Act under section 54.954.2. The 5 exceptions are if there's something that appeared on agenda 5 days before at a prior meeting, and then it shows up on a subsequent agenda, so it has a 5-day period of time, and there's a carryover to a subsequent meeting that happens within that 5-day period, then the board can take action on that item that was listed on the agenda at the prior meeting, but it's a 5-day window. The other exceptions pertain to emergency exceptions. So if the board determines that there's an emergency exists and the majority of the board determines to take action on that emergency item, usually it's matters having to do with public safety, facilities, safety, things like that, then the board can take action because it's an emergency and it just arose. It's not likely to be on the agenda just as a matter of fact. And then the other exception is the emergency posting. If there's something that rises after the posting of the agenda, so the agenda is posted 72 hours in advance, and then something arises, and the board determines that this is an emergency and that they need to take action on it. Two-thirds of the board needs to find that emergency exists and that action can take place on that item that was not listed on the agenda previously. And then the last exception is a newer one, which you're all familiar with. It arose from COVID, and that is, this is an instance where the board would take up the question of this discrete question of whether it was going to allow a board member to participate remotely because that board member was experiencing an emergency condition related to the COVID reasons for emergency, taking care of a sick family member. Doesn't necessarily have to be COVID, it could be something else, or other emergency condition. That would be presented to the board, that question. The board can take action on that particular item. It's not listed on the agenda, but presumably through Jen, she would get communication from one of the board members. Hey, I would like to participate in this meeting, but I'm at home taking care of my sick loved one. So those are the exceptions, and those are under 954.2. Now, with respect to questions that are raised by members of the public during public comment, the public is commenting on either agenda items or non-agenda items. If they're commenting on non-agenda items, there's nothing that stops the board from, you can't take action, but you could ask for a further report on that particular issue that was raised to come back to a subsequent meeting. Couldn't take action on that particular issue or item or question a member of the public raised at that time. You could also make comments to staff about what your observations were, what your impressions were from that member of the public based on their particular comments. But again, no action would be. I would not recommend that you take action, because it would be a violation of the Brown Act if you did so. But there's nothing stopping you from requesting a further report, or where you could take action on that particular issue that was raised by the member of the public.
Additional discussion from the board?
Yeah, I have a quick question, if that's okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General Counsel. Obviously not my area of expertise, so I will try to answer or ask this in the best way possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, the purpose of the original language as we had it is so that the public can confirm whether or not they need to or may want to attend a board meeting in person, participate, based on if something is going to have an action potentially taken on it by the board, or if it's just an information item and they can sit this one out and wait for be something in the future to actually come participate in. Is that correct?
So that's my understanding. Again, this is it's you, the president and CEO. It's your agenda, and typically, if you look at public agencies throughout California, most agencies are going to do the business that's set forth on the agenda. Many do actually, they provide that wiggle room, if you will, saying, "Oh, well, we're going to do everything that's on the agenda, whether it's information or action only." But my understanding is, within at least 20 words, you want to tell the public what's going to happen at the meeting. That's going to happen 72 hours after you post notice of that meeting. That's the idea. And yeah, you're right. It's I can't speak for what how the public consumes or interprets a particular agenda, but I would say that if they see that something's an information item, they may sit that out. Whereas if they see that something's an action item, they may come and participate. So that's a reality of the posting of the agenda. But if you have this new language or this new policy statement, it gives notice to the public, like, hey, even though previously you may have sat out on an information item, there's a possibility that this board may take action on an information item. So if you want to be heard, you should come to me.
Thank you very much. To my fellow directors, again, correct me if I'm wrong, does that not feel like perhaps we make it slightly more difficult for the public to know whether or not they should actually come participate in any particular meeting? If we reserve in any meeting, oh, we could take action on anything we want to, we might not. I would like to be as transparent and clear as possible about sticking to our predefined agenda. And I'm not saying that I won't vote for this. So I'll move for what we believe the board to be best, but we have two options here. And is the return on investment of adding this language that may protect us, are we going to use that to do that much of a better job that we're willing to risk the potential frustration for the public and not know whether or not we're actually going to take an action on something? Because we reserve the right to or not to in every meeting. Let me know if I need to clarify that question.
Chair, first of all, I do support this item. So thank you, Vince. I think it gives the board the flexibility. We have legal foundation and precedent, and it's compliant and transparent. My question is maybe very similar to my colleagues. My only concern is the potential public confusion. Publicizing the meeting and as information items can still result in action. If the board moves forward, I'm wondering if it's possible to add a footnote to the language, adding a brief explanation of what the language actually means in more detail. Or maybe adding a FAQ link on our website about how our meetings may be run moving forward. But that is my concern, that the public may find it confusing with this language.
And I'm gonna go to Christopher. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, it's a separate agency, but there's folks that come before this body that also come before the city, and the city council is pretty strict that the receive and file or an information item, there's no action taken because that's what we told the public. So I just think you want to be thoughtful about that. You may want to give yourself this power and then not use it, or use it incredibly carefully and sparingly. I think the other issue, the reason to have this authority is this body meets once a month, doesn't meet once a week. It's a very infrequent, sort of cadence of meetings. And I think things come up and the board appropriately wants, to redress or wants to be able to resolve those. But I do think you want to be respectful of the public, and it is confusing for the public to have two different sets of rules, because they do attend both meetings. So you just, I think, want to be thoughtful about that. And I mean, not to introduce even more confusion, but even if there's an information item and that, prompts a thought or a concern in a board member's mind, you always have the opportunity at the end of the meeting to let Ken know, your request for future items. So up to you, how you want to proceed, but I just wanted to share that concern that I know other, LA City Planning Commission, other entities do have this flexibility, but the city of Long Beach is pretty strict about this, so that you'll be giving the public kind of two sets of operating rules.
Then Director Kent.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. First, I agree with this recommendation. Appreciate the research that was done by General Counsel to keep us in line with the law. I also appreciate that you did a comparative analysis to illustrate how comparable agencies empower themselves to take action without compromising the public's ability to provide input. And while I agree that, you know, members of the public may attend both meetings, I think the more important point is the cadence of the meetings that you also underscored. And so they may have the ability to attend both meetings and provide input, but what we don't have is the ability to act with the same speed as the city council. And I share your concern, and I think we are all interested in not only having an informed public, but an empowered public, being a public agency and moving the public around these streets. But I think if and when the time comes that we are in a position wherein a information item has transformed into a possible action item, we as a board can at any given moment decide that, you know, we understand board member X, you want to change this information item to an action item in compliance with yada, yada, yada. But the majority of us think we shouldn't, and away go your troubles down the drain. So I think, you know, this action, one, being in line with the Brown Act, two, being researched and compared to other agencies with probably a similar meeting cadence, and three, the empowerment and flexibility that it gives us, and four, our ability to, at any given, you know, meeting, decide that the majority of this board does not agree with whoever may have made or seconded the motion to transform an information into an action. I think the public is still well protected. Their interests are still well protected, and we have an additional tool in our shed to act nimbly in those moments where we might need to.
Yes, Director Andrew.
I've had conversations with the general counsel about this matter, and just my own personal vote is I'm a bit of a Brown Act purist. It's just been the school that I've come from. And not only the fact is, as Director Rawlings has indicated, the intent and the purpose for the public to know what a policy body is doing, and then appreciating the fact of the city and how they perceive these types of action as it relates to the Brown Act. I certainly am going to be able to support this action simply because the legislative intent of the Brown Act was always to engage the public, to know everything that's going on before it goes on, and that nothing goes in, and that there is no sort of opportunity for a public body to do a little bit of conversation with a switch debate. I think it's a slippery slope. I don't necessarily think the policy bodies that use this necessarily are, you know, large enough in terms of councils. And I mean, you have bodies that are maybe appointed as opposed to folks that are necessarily elected. And again, I come from the school of as a purist on the Brown Act, so I'll be voting no on this.
I have a quick question. I know that there's a lot of dialogue. I know that it was brought up about public comment. I know that usually on the script it says, you know, the board is here to receive comments only, no exchange or dialogue within people that do comments. Is that going to change?
I would not recommend that change. So the Brown Act, it says in the same chapter, the Brown Act says, you know, you all as the board can receive comment from the public, and then you may let the public know, okay, well, we're going to talk to staff about that. We're going to talk to Mr. McDonald. We'll get back to you on X, Y, Z. There's no back and forth, so that wouldn't my anticipation that would not change. So there's still the prescription or the prescriptive rule of the Brown Act that says, hey, elected or appointed body, don't engage with the public whether they're talking to you on an agenda item, a non-agenda item, or just before closed session. No back and forth. That's the idea. But it doesn't prevent you all from conversing amongst yourselves, directing staff, letting the public know, hey, that was a great question. We'll get back to you about that, whatever they brought up.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more dialogue on this? All right. We'll call for a roll call.
Chair Mejia,
No.
Vice Chair Sutton, Secretary Treasurer Norvey,
No.
Director Angeles,
No.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings.
No.
Director Sun has been excused.
Great, thank you so much. Now board requests. Are there any board Sorry. Motion failed. Is there anything else that we have to say besides the motion failed? Okay. Great discussion. I want to say thank you, Vince. I know you did a lot of research on this and we definitely appreciate it. So thank you so much. All right, now going back to agenda item board request. Is there any board requests? Yes, Director Angela.
Okay. Prior to our last meeting, there was this great announcement about the city of Long Beach receiving 11 sites for the Olympics as opposed to 4 sites that we were asking for. Is there a way that we can get from the city a report in the future about, that stuff that's going on that the city is
Yeah,
doing?
so I'm working with Ken on scheduling that. So it's not ready today, but it's in the works.
Yeah, and also as it relates to transit, because there's a lot of talk a little about the transit component to that. But exciting that we're getting so many venues in the city of Long Beach. But just wanted to make sure that we were prepared for such things.
The first thing we have to do is talk with the city and then also with Metro. We're planning a meeting with Metro and the other transit operators to just talk about Metro's plan. And then once we get with the city, we know where we're going. This has been so sudden that we haven't had time to really have any discussion, but that's the next step.
The other thing too is Supervisor Han's motion about getting boats from Hijo to Long Beach. We need to get out. Whatever her plan is, we need to get on that. Anyways, any
Chair, if you don't mind.
yes.
I also want to say thank you to council and any staff that supported some of the research on that motion item. I'm sure it's a little bit frustrating when the board asks for something and then changes our mind when we actually go to do it. But I'm glad that we had the discussion. And I do want to say to Director Kemp's points that it is in our best interest to, in my opinion, be transparent and use the spirit of the original Brown Act, as well as to align with our partners at the city in terms of how we do this. But it is also in our best interest to move as fast as we can in light of what's going on in society right now and with the challenges that we have upcoming. So what I would ask, not necessarily to staff, but just to the board, or whatever makes the most sense for a request for another conversation, is how we can continue to increase speed and look at that, and what we can do as a board to be more flexible in supporting our Long Beach teammates here at LBT. So that when we need to move fast, we have a way to identify that and still cross that off. I just personally don't believe that that motion was the best way to achieve said goal. Thank you.
Any more board requests? All right, before we end, I want to thank Jen for being an amazing board secretary. Yesterday we celebrated Administration Professional Day, and although we weren't here, we're here today celebrating her. We're so grateful for your leadership and making sure that we're on track with all of our board agendas, making sure that we get the memos and things that are happening. So Jen, thank you so much. And everybody who's in administration, thank you so much. You guys make it happen. So with that, any more?
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, call for a
Chair Mejia,
aye.
Vice Chair Sun, Secretary Treasurer Yorve,
Aye.
Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Sun has been excused.
Motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting will be now held on May 15, 2025. Thank you.
No closed session.